how do we go, and we can kind of talk out loud about this, right? How do we go to market differently then? Is it just as simple as like the founding or maybe perhaps just like leading team has to make the statement and agree that we are going to go to market better together? Or is it actually about some steps along the way to ensure that that collective value, the 1 + 1 is 10, to your point, is ever present? I have thoughts on this, but I'm curious for yours.
For me, it always starts with value. And in my book, I'm talking about the first fundamental aspects of that. Let me just summarize them. First of all, acknowledge that you cannot please everyone. I think that's a founding principle towards if you directly go to the market or if you go through the market through partners. It is about becoming the prime choice for a few, because that's where the value is. And once the value is there, it creates something. The word of mouth, for example, it creates fans. All of these things help. Second principle in my book, the second trait that I talk about is that you create something valuable, but not only valuable, but also desirable. Because something can be valuable and it can still be nice to have. But the moment it becomes desirable, and ideally that it embeds urgency in something critical, that's super powerful. And what I see is that a lot of companies, it's hard to get that on your own. And sometimes if you just take your ego out and say, wait a minute, there's this component and that component. And if we bring that together, this is their core business. This is our core business. But together we have something that, the customer is asking for, is secretly wanting. That's super important. And then the third trait that I talk about in my book is aim to be different, not better. And I see so much in the B2B SaaS world is that we try to be better. And better is something that a customer, first of all, cannot see, cannot touch. They can only, hopefully believe it when you say we're the leader here or we are the biggest company there. I would say prove it, by being, by delivering outstanding results. And to do that, you have to be different. And that's also a great way to leverage partners.
Such a fascinating idea. I don't know that I ever actually heard that. Maybe it's just my limited exposure to that concept, but the idea of not being better. Everyone talks about better. We're the best at this. And we, people love to trash talk their competitors and we do that better and we can, but different is such a simple concept because it's, to your point, it's measurable. We work in this capacity in this way differently. It's interesting too. You were talking about sort of the sum of our parts, that concept of like when we work together, we are creating something. I always have this visual. I'm very like, when I hear things, I see it in my head for whatever reason. It's how I function. And I'm picturing like I talked about this early in the show too, like a year ago, but the Lego mat, like the green Lego mat that we all remember from when we were kids, where you built like your house or you built your, Star Wars ship or whatever it is. And that you could look at that mat and say like, it's so simple and there's nothing to it. How could I ever create, the castle or the whatever it is in the back of the box you're trying to build? But that as you incrementally put the pieces together, the picture starts to form into a real world shape. And when I think about what you're describing in terms of both difference and the sum of our parts value you're describing there specifically, I'm picturing that Lego experience. And that when I want to build my castle, and I want that castle to have a moat around it so it's defensible and I can protect myself from, marauders or whatever it is, that ultimately that's going to come from taking the steps necessary to combine those pieces, those different Lego blocks into the shape, the structure that is sound, which is the castle, and then to do it differently, which means perhaps I don't follow the instructions or I do it out of order or whatever it is, but that ultimately that's going to put me in a better position over the long term. If I'm a B2B SaaS founder or, employee, I guess, if you will, at this point, what are some of the things that I can think about? Maybe in your experience, you've had some exposure to this in terms of that differentiation, specifically through partnerships. Again, I have some thoughts on this. I don't want to rush through it, but ultimately when I think about partnerships as a differentiator, I think a lot of folks go very quickly to partnerships as a leverage towards revenue. How do I get more in the door? I think as a differentiator, I'm immediately thinking about things like app marketplaces and building marketplaces in general that allows you to say, maybe our product is not so dissimilar from our competitor. However, we have a core integration with the top 10 other platforms that our customers are most likely to show up at our doorfront with. Like I think about that as a massive value add for the market, massive value add for the customer base, and an absolute core differentiator. I'm curious if you agree and if there's other ideas that are top of mind for you.
That's how to start it. I made my book, on page number 24, I'm talking about a triangle. I was on a podcast with a guy called Jonathan Stark, and he called it at the end the broken triangle. And I think that is the picture that you should have in mind. It shouldn't be broken. A triangle ideally is about 3 equally strong legs. And in my book, I'm talking about the 3 angles that are important there. First of all is, if you look at all the problems that your end customer tries to solve, the things that wake them up at night, make a list of that. And the second thing you do is, once you get that list, and if I go to it with my customers, in the repositioning projects that I do with a lot of them, it becomes a list of 60, 70 points, which is far too much. What we then do is looking at it from 3 angles. Each problem, how valuable is it to solve for your customer? Second thing is, how critical is it to solve for your customer? And then the third thing is your ability to exceed expectations on solving this problem or that problem or that problem. And then it becomes a formula. So value and critical is really important, because the 2 together, if you score a 9 on valuable and a 9 on critical, you score 81 points. It's like multiplied. And suddenly you can create a list, and the top 10 is at the top. Now you're looking at, okay, so where can we exceed expectations? Whereby a 5 is, okay, we're equal to competition. And a lot of companies make the mistakes. We can exceed expectations because we can solve it. That's not what it's about. Like, where can you exceed expectations? And that's where the opportunity arises for a company to create a unique position in the market. But it's also an opportunity to say, we make the difference on these 2, but if we would make the difference on these 3 problems, and we take this partner with us, because they have this skill, this capability, this way of access to the market, this network, and we can solve that problem, and we can increase our ability to exceed expectations, it's the way to go for it. The customer will see that. The partner will see that you need both. And that's a great way to get started. It's a pretty simple concept.
Well, it's a differentiator too. It goes back to your previous idea. So say all 3 of them out loud again. I want the listeners to hear it.
Make a list of problems.
Yep.
Each of the problems answer 3 questions. On a scale of 1 to 10, how valuable is it? How critical is it? And what is your ability to exceed expectations? Do that. Create a spreadsheet, make the formula, sort it, done.
I love formulas. That's why I wanted to have you say it again. So valuable, critical, and a measurable impact. How can we exceed expectations there? That's brilliant. I know we've got a few more minutes here. Are there some parting thoughts you can share with the audience around how to take this triangle, reinforce it, and apply it most effectively, and I think quickly, in an organization that, like a lot of folks that listen to this, have some sort of a partner program? That's at least what I've been told so far, right? So they've got something going on. That list of priorities you're describing of the customer and of the opportunity set. Yeah. How often are they revisiting that? Like, I'm thinking about them starting today. They're listening to your episode right now. They're hearing this and saying, okay, great. Do I do this monthly, quarterly? How often do you recommend folks engage in that math?
Depends a little bit. It is. First of all, it's good to keep that a live document, because
I like that.
Every day you hear new problems that your customers are struggling with. Make a list of that. And even if you don't solve them right now, it's very good for your R&D department. Or to start sourcing partners.
I love that.
If you need to make a difference there.
Yep.
Then review it every 6 months, because it's not about whether your product has evolved or your partnership has evolved. Your customer is evolving as well. So what was a problem a quarter ago is not a problem today anymore. And what was... and the other way around. We had COVID. We all know what happened then. Certain problems that we used to fix like no one else suddenly weren't important anymore. But other things became important. So it's always, keep looking at it. What are the dynamics of your customer, of your joint end customer, partner and you, that are changing? And keep having a conversation, a lively conversation, how you can solve it in the best possible way.
I love that call out, though. It's organic. Then, it's ever evolving.
Niche down. Don't say we're the best for everybody and this is about volume and so on. Of course, a number of industries, it is about volume. But typically when it comes to mid-market and up, these are the deals where you want to have a long-term relationship with customers, and also the partners want to stay involved for a long time.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for that.
Good.
Super, super helpful insights. I love the core takeaways here. If folks want to reach out, they want to get in touch, how do they find you on the internet? How do they find your book? How do they engage with you as a brand?
I'm always, every day I look on LinkedIn. So that's where you can find me. Just type my name. There isn't any other one as far as I can see. Otherwise, go to my website, valueinspiration.com. And that's where you will, on the first page, already see a way to download my book, because it's available for free. It's my way of giving back.
I love it. Okay, well, I will openly admit that I have yet to do so. I owe that to you, and I will this week. I finally have some free time, and I'm going to read it up. Thank you for your absolutely brilliant insight. I appreciate it. Wonderful conversation today. I'm glad you joined the show. For folks listening, thank you as always for checking us out. Please like, subscribe, comment. And as always, I welcome your feedback. I love the messages that I get on LinkedIn, the DMs, the ideas. If you know somebody who should be a guest, I'm certainly open to that as well. But I appreciate your listenership and viewership. Ton, it's been a fantastic conversation. Thanks again, my friend. Until next time.